Hi, this is Fiona Czerniawska from Source for Consulting. I want to talk to you about the research that we've done this year talking to clients. Roughly half the research we do is done speaking to clients in major organisations right across the world. They're all major buyers of consulting, and almost all of them are C-level people in very senior positions who have a lot of influence about how consulting is used in their organisations. So I think the broad message we got back from all these people is a very positive one for consultants. Roughly speaking, the clients we spoke to this year are twice as positive as they were last year about their use and expenditure on consultants over the next 12 months. So that points to good solid growth in the consulting market over the next year to 18 months. So there's some really good news that emerges from that. If we look at in more detail, then we found that energy companies and the services sector were perhaps the most positive. Financial services somewhere in the middle, I think public sector much less so. That's probably no surprise to anybody working in consulting. In terms of the services they were interested in, then the top of their agenda was technology. And this is something we're hearing from every point of research that we're currently undertaking. Technology is something that is almost kind of creating a bubble around itself at the moment for consulting firms. Clients are looking at social media, digitization, the cloud, mobility, and finding lots of opportunities to change the way their business works, and are looking to consultants to help them do that. Still very important to clients is operational improvement. So they're concerned about efficiency, concerned about keeping a lid on costs, and we'll continue to see growth in the consulting market in that area. Strategy, perhaps a bit less sort of hot on the client agenda at the moment, a bit further down their list of priorities. And at the same time, they're also slightly doubtful about the use of consultants when it comes to the whole growth agenda. And that raises some really interesting questions for consulting firms. And if you like, this is the bad news that follows on from the good news. We ask clients to talk about the initiatives that will be driving activity in their businesses over the coming 12 months. And all across the world, we heard the same three things emerge. Clients are concerned about keeping costs under control. They're concerned about using technology in the right kind of way, and they want to grow their businesses. Now, depending on which geography you're in, the relative importance of those varies slightly. So North American clients were more interested in growth. In Europe, cost was a bit more on the agenda. If we looked at Germany and Scandinavia, technology was particularly important, as it was in the US. In France, it was a bit less so. So there are some differences there from country to country. But it became very interesting when we then started to say, to what extent do those initiatives, will they drive your use of consultants? And we found that some areas of activity on the client side are far more likely to result in the use of consultants than others. Simply put, clients have a very strong positive correlation between the investment they make in technology and the use of consultants. So wherever they're thinking about using technology to help them cut costs or to expand into new markets, they're going to look to consulting firms to help them with that. Roughly 1 in 2 clients will automatically assume that investing in technology will involve an investment in consulting firms. And I think that reinforces the picture I mentioned earlier about what we expect to see in terms of growth for the future. A good, strong market for consulting firms, but particularly for those firms in the technology space. Clients had mixed views about the extent to which cost cutting would translate into consulting work. There are some parts of the world, notably the UK and the US, where clients will use consultants to help them cut costs. But if you're a French client, actually you'd rather see consultants as a cost to be cut than as a means of helping you cut costs. But there's still a pretty strong connection between cutting costs and the use of consultants. There's a slightly less strong association between growth and all the activities that clients want to look at around their growth agenda and the use of consultants. In other words, clients don't necessarily see management consultants as being the people best able to help them grow their business. There's a lot of demand and need to grow their business, and they're all exploring different avenues and opportunities for growth. But they're not going to automatically turn to consulting firms to help them with that in a way that they would help with technology. So there's a problem and opportunity here. The problem is that clients don't necessarily see management consulting firms as the first port of call when they're thinking about growth. But the opportunity, of course, is there's a lot of demand for clients for help in that space. Now, perhaps clients would turn to advertising creative agencies for it. They might turn to very small specialist firms. Our suspicion, though, is that they'll turn to consulting firms with very strong, in-depth industry knowledge. If you're cutting costs or you're implementing technology, then you can often do that across different sectors. Indeed, it's bringing to bear the experience of different sectors from one sector to another that can be really useful to a client. But growth is very sector specific. Indeed, it's almost organisation specific. And one of the other things that really emerges from our client research this year has been the importance of industry knowledge. So clients will look at consulting firms and at consultants and say, we can get supply chain expertise, we can get technology expertise. There's lots of choice, and of course choice drives down prices. But when it comes to industry expertise, clients have far few places to go. And they're almost saying this is the area that they will value most, and it's the part that they connect most to growth. So if you're a consulting firm and you're looking to grow in the next 12 months, then first of all we'd say this is going to be a good market. You ought to be able to grow in this market. It's going to be a fairly benign economic existence for consulting firms. However, if you really want to exploit the opportunities for growth, you've got to do one of two things. You've either got to be in the technology area because there's clearly strong pent-up underlying demand for technology change, some of which is driven by lack of investment in the previous few years, some of it's driven by a whole new wave of technology. Or, if you're not in the technology space, then you need to be thinking about how can you position yourself to work in this growth area. How can you make the case to clients that you can help them grow? And we suspect that will come from positioning yourself very strongly as industry experts, not as generic experts in a particular functional area. So a good market, plenty of opportunities for growth, but also some important, perhaps in some cases difficult choices for consulting firms to make in the next few months. If you found this interesting, then you might like to go to our website, www.sourceforconsulting.com, where there's a lot more information about the reports that we've published. Thank you very much.